What is good, everybody? Welcome to Win with Aretha. I am Aretha. I am a licensed real estate salesperson here in New York City. I also happen to be a member of National Association of Realtors. So here today, I will be focusing on today's video, which will be home buyers and how the National Association of Realtors settlement affects you as a home buyer. And I definitely wanted to take some time to explain a few things on how it works and how it affects you directly and what it means from here on out. Now, the settlement does take effect this week because it has been an exciting week here in real estate. So I definitely wanted to make sure that you are aware of the changes that is going to be taking effect on August the 17th and what it means to you and how these changes will affect you. Now, if this is your first time here, please definitely hit that like button so I know that you like the information that I'm giving you. Also, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that way you will be updated every single time I upload a video. I will have this on multiple platforms so that way you'll be abreast to what is happening. So I can give you some tips, some tricks, and also some updated news on what's happening. So thank you. First off, I want to thank you for definitely checking out this video. And now I'm just going to go ahead and get straight into the material without further ado so that way you will know how to be able to move and build some equity in the real estate game without hurting yourself or at least being knowledgeable about the process. Let's get into it. Okay, now I'm getting this information directly from National Association of Realtors website. You can be able to find this directly at facts.realtor. And this is if you want to see it yourself, of course, but I'm literally showing the page. I get updates literally to my email because, again, I am a member of National Association of Realtors. So I do get this information directly from them, and they'll be able to not only address the questions that I have, but also be able to check in different webinars. And I really definitely like to stay abreast of what's going on. So I'm just going to literally just read directly what this says and definitely give you my input so that way there would be no confusion and just bring direct information to you. So starting from the top, this is directly for home buyers. I do have another video that I am doing. You can feel free to check it out on how it will affect you as a home seller. So that way you won't be confused and know how the settlement affects you as a home seller. So feel free to check out that video. But today's video, this video right here, is focusing on the home buyers and talking a lot more about the settlement and how it affects you as a home buyer. So as you know, and I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this because I tell this to all my clients and all my consultations, that buying a home is definitely one of the largest financial transactions for most people that they will definitely take. And this is a way to be able to build equity. And definitely, this is definitely not something that you want to just skim through because it's not like you're just going grocery shopping. Even buying a car for some people is major. So I definitely want to address that. So definitely with realtors, we go by a certain code of ethics. Okay. So we definitely follow more of a strict code than a regular licensed realtor. And we definitely are a trusted source on giving advice and standing ready to definitely make sure that you give you accurate information and up to date information as it happens. So that's why I'm doing it literally this week before it takes effect, which it does the settlement does take effect on August the 17th. So I wanted to definitely address it a little bit before, so that way you can get ready. Some realtors may not be even aware of this. Well, excuse me, some licensed real estate salespeople may not even be aware of the settlement. So definitely I wanted to bring this up because right now not everyone is abreast to what is happening. So I definitely want to make sure that I update you as much as possible, so that way you'll know certain realtors will be bringing this up, and there's different ways that things will be moved around when it comes to realtors and how they negotiate through a deal from the beginning, finding a property, to closing table. So I definitely wanted to take some time to just stress the recent settlement changes and how these changes will benefit the home buyers, so that way we clearly lay them out. Now, I definitely want to say that it nothing's really changing at all. The only thing that's really being addressed here when it comes to the settlement is transparency. Let's keep that just straightforward. Nothing really changes. It's just a level of transparency that you receive as a home buyer and as a seller throughout the transaction. Okay, so that is the main thing I want to make clear. It's nothing too major, just a little bit of a little bit more documentation. To me, it's not a little more documentation because I still use the same documents, and it's still, well, they tweaked it a little bit because of the verbiage. However, it is still the same documents for representation for being a buyer's agent. So I'm just going to scroll down here on the page, and it just talks a little bit more about here's is what the settlement means for you as a home buyer. Okay. Now, first bullet says you will sign a written agreement with your agent before touring a home. Now, like I mentioned before, this is nothing new at all. You definitely have, if you have purchased a home before, especially within the last 4 years after COVID, signing a written agreement is definitely something that has been regular when it comes to working with a realtor, because they definitely want to be able to express the compensation, how that agent will be compensated, and whether the seller will be involved in compensating the buyer's agent as well. So that's nothing that has changed. Only thing that it is mandatory at this point. Before, it wasn't necessarily mandatory to have an exclusive agent. You can work from one agent to another agent. Unless you had an exclusive agreement, you had to stick with that one agent unless you were breaching that contract. So now in this particular case, the settlement means that you will be writing a agreement if you're working with that agent to tour a home, and this has to be completed before touring a home. Okay. Now, next bullet is before signing this agreement, you should ensure it affects the terms you have negotiated with your agent, and that you understand exactly what services and value will be provided and for how much. So we'll go through each bullet and go deep diving into that more, but it's pretty simple. The agent's going to be able to provide you services and how much value they bring you. Now, as a realtor, I do want to say we do at least 176 things for you behind the scenes that you may not even know. Like, we definitely make sure we schedule that appointment for you, and we are working and communicating with several other agents that may be representing the seller. And the thing is, when with this written agreement as a buyer's agent, we're working for you as a buyer. Now, if there is no agreement, you're working with that agent as a customer, meaning that that agent is literally working for and representing the seller. And that agent is not working for you in your best interest as a buyer, meaning they won't give you some information on the property, and they will leave some things out because it affects and it has to do with the seller. So that's why doing a written agreement with a buyer's agent does benefit you as a home buyer, because you have someone that is working in your best interest and representing you, versus you being a customer and they're working in the best interest of the seller. Next bullet is the buyer's agreements must include the four components concerning compensation. Because again, this is more about transparency on compensation, so you won't wonder who's getting paid, how your agent's getting paid. It's all written in the agreement. So number one, a specific and conspicuous, excuse me, conspicuous disclosure on the amount of compensation on the real estate agents will receive, and how this amount will be determined. So everything is negotiable. The compensation will be negotiable. So this will be the first thing that will be discussed on how much that agent will be paid. Now, number two, the compensation that is the objective. On example, if there's going to be an exact dollar amount, or if it's going to be X flat fee, or if it's going to be X percent, or X hourly rate. So definitely just more explaining if they're going to be paid by the hour, if they're going to be paid a flat fee, or if they're going to be paid a percentage of this property sale price. So that way it's not open ended and you're not getting to the closing table and you're like, okay, how much are they getting paid? It's right there in your agreement. It's going to be right there. And also another example, it cannot be a buyer broker compensation, and shall be whatever the amount the seller is offering to the buyer. So for example, if the seller is offering a compensation amount to the buyer's agent, say for example, it was 3 apples that you and your buyer's agent agreed to, and then that particular property that particular seller is selling, their seller says, oh, I'm willing to pay the buyer 1.5 apples. So that means that part of that compensation will be coming from the seller and you as the buyer. So that way you are able to come together to compensate that agent. So number three, a term that prohibits the agent from receiving compensation for brokerage services from any source that exceeds the amount or rate agreed to in the agreement with the buyer, and a conspicuous statement that the broker's fees and the commissions are fully negotiable and not set by law. So for example, what that means is, say that you guys agreed to 3 apples, okay? That agent, if the seller's agent is going to be paying, like I said, the seller is going to be paying 1.5 apples, that it won't be 3 apples plus 1.5 apple. Okay, it won't be over what the buyer's agreement was. It'll be exactly what the buyer's agreement would be. It just saves you a little bit money because the seller is contributing to those 3 apples that you guys originally agreed to in your buyer's agreement. Okay, and again, this is nothing new. This is definitely the same thing that has been going on for years. However, the buyer's agreement just simply states that to protect your best interests, and that way you're not overpaying or um, paying under the table, or doing something that is not going to be in your best interest and affecting you positively. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down on the page a little bit. Written agreements apply to both in-person and virtual home tours. So whether you're driving to the property, or you see the property via Zoom or Google Meets or whatever virtual platform, the written agreement still applies, okay? Because the key thing is, doing these tours, you're going to see the property before you actually pay. And that is the key for every single agent, every single salesperson. They're not to be compensated until finding you a home. So whether you see it online or you see it in person, this written agreement does apply. You do not need a written agreement if you are just speaking to an agent at an open house or asking them about their services. So for example, if you're just doing a consultation, you don't have to do a written agreement just to talk about the agent services and to figure out If this is somebody you want to work with, it's just like any consultation. When you go to the doctor and you're going to explain to them and at least find out, like, hey, can you help me? Like that, those type of things, just conversating, you're not paying for that. It's not coming directly out of your pocket. Those written agreements do not apply to that, because again, you're just discussing the terms and you don't sign anything at that point. So let's see here. Next is the seller may agree to offer compensation to your agent. I mentioned that before. This practice is permitted, but the offer cannot be shared on the multi-listing service. The MLS, multi-listing services, are local marketplaces used by both buyers, brokers, and listing brokers to share information about the properties for sale. So at this point, what this means is the compensation, whether the agent is getting paid 3 apples, 6 apples, or 1 apple, that will no longer be listed on the multi-listing service. That was the whole point of the settlement, is to remove that option. So now, in order to negotiate, which again, our salespeople are negotiators. What we're going to be doing at this point is either talking one on one or just having some type of conversation around compensation and whether that seller is going to be paying or not, or and then it's going to be again based off of each property. So if you see it, whether you see that property online or for a virtual tour, or whether you go in person, that there's going to be a conversation between your agents on how they're being compensated. And the whole point of the settlement is that you're part of that conversation. After they talk, they're like, okay, listen, the seller is offering this so much compensation, or this seller is not offering any compensation. So that way you'll know off off jump what's going on. Off jump means immediately, immediately what's happening. Sorry, New York terms here. And then next, you can still accept concession from the seller, such as offers to pay closing costs. Now, concessions. I have done a video on concessions and what that means, but I'll definitely go over it briefly here. Concessions is extra money that the sellers will leave available to the buyer, and they can use it any way they want, whether it's towards closing costs, whether it's towards the agent, whether it's towards repairs on the property. That is what concession is. It's just extra money that the seller leaves available for the buyer for their use on whatever they want to use it. Now, if you want to pay your agent with that concession, that's completely up to you. Or you want to use it towards repairs, that's completely up to you. It's your decision. However, it is something that you definitely want to be knowledgeable about, and that is the point of having a buyer's agent. Because if you don't have a buyer's agreement and have a buyer's agent, not only will you not know about these things, but also you'll find it out as it comes. And I'm sure you want to know everything that's going on before you get to that closing table. Okay. So again, these practices will go effect come August the 17th. So this week, that's when it's going to start to take effect, and you'll start to see more and more of these agreements and having to complete these agreements before even stepping into the first home. You can look online all you want to. You can go on whatever platform online and definitely look at these properties and look at these cool little tours, but when it comes to actually moving forward and putting an offer and getting to the point where you want to step your foot in the door, an agreement will be necessary. So just to wrap it up, here's what the settlement doesn't change. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't really change much, but transparency. So we'll just go over this. Agents who are realtors, again, not every agent is a realtor. Okay, some agents are just licensed salespeople and they have a brokerage, and there's other ones that's licensed with a brokerage and they have the added backup of being a part of National Association of Realtors, like myself. I go by an extra code of ethics being with realtors and have the extra support. So agents who are realtors are here to help you navigate the home buying process and are ethically obligated to work in your best interest. Okay, so meaning we go by a specific code of ethics and we have to go by these ethics. So again, the settlement doesn't change that. That has never changed. This has always been a thing that has been around for years. So compensation for your agent remains fully negotiable. Okay. And if your agent is a realtor, they must abide by the realtor code of ethics and have clear and transparent decisions with you about compensation. When finding an agent to work with, ask questions about compensation and understand what services you are receiving. So, again, this doesn't change. Everything is still the same here. You're still making the decisions. You're still the driver. You're still the pilot. An agent, especially a realtor, is just working specifically in it just in the back to just give you more information about your purchase. Okay. And you have choices. Nothing has changed there. You have choices. You can work with your agent to understand the full range of these choices with buying a home, which will help you make the best possible decision for your needs. Now, if you want to see this and get more information and facts about these changes with the National Association of Realtors taking effect on August the 17th, feel free to check it out at facts.realtor so you can be able to see a little more information about the National Association Realtors settlement and how it affects you as a home buyer. Okay? Thank you for checking out my video. That is it. If you have any further questions or need any further explanation, or if you just want a realtor to work with, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the description box. And thank you for watching my video all the way to the end. I hope that information was helpful. If it was, don't hesitate to click that like button. Leave any comments for any other further information that you would like to see. And I am in New York, so if you definitely want some help outside of New York City, listen, I can help you. It is okay. I can connect you with someone else that can be able to directly help you that I know and trust, as well as give you a little more information about that area because I actually do help and invest in other areas. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be more than happy to help you, whether your deal is big or small. I have no problem at helping you, and I love building relationships. So thank you again for checking out my video, and feel free to check out the seller's video as well because I do explain a little bit more about how it affects home sellers as well too. So definitely feel free to check out all my other videos talking a little bit more about different tips and tricks, whether you know what type of property you're looking to buy. And as always, you have a wonderful day on purpose.